Shila Gurudev ki jai, Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadri ki jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Praman. So good evening, pranam to all of you, welcome, thanks for coming. And today we finally got to our last meeting. I'm not a farewell person, so I won't say the last too much because it's not the last, ever last. There's always a flow and continuation, but according to the technical organization of these retreats, today is the last lecture. So we will be sharing some questions and answers. And we have been finishing our series on yesterday on Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, and in between we have shared some other sessions regarding Dharma Gita. We have been speaking about some other celebrations we have this week's, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Disappearance Day, Radharani's Disappearance Day, Srivas Thakur's Disappearance Day, and lots of questions and answers as well. So you never run out of questions. It was good. Let's see if today is the exception to the norm. I don't think so. So, are there any questions for today? Uda.
How to balance our personal bhajan, with the necessity to have Sankirtana as well.
What do you mean by Sankirtana?
Like together, like practice with others.
Okay. How to balance?
Yes, because
organize and meet for Sankirtana.
Yeah, but not always is possible. So.
Necessity is the mother of invention. So if you have the necessity, how is it? It's in English. If there is a will, there is a way. If there is a will, there is a way. If there is not way, maybe there's no will. So hopefully these days we have thrown some extra fuel into the fire of will, because if we really understand the teaching, we will conclude about the importance of both. Not one thing doing away with the other, but so it's important to not neglect one personal bhajan. But Sankirtan is not outside of one's personal bhajan, even though it takes a form of collective meeting and chanting, still is part of one's, because you have to do your part there. It's not just I'm there with others and I'm carried away by the currents and I do not do anything. I become like an automaton without will. You have to do something, the Sankirtan as well. But of course we receive some, if you will, a special like pushing and inspiration from, if there is a favorable environment, for sure that will create some special momentum for us to voluntarily enter into the fire, if you will, of Sankirtan. So the rest is just, again, informing ourselves about the importance of that and trying to see how we can organize for that to happen on some sustainable basis for everyone. Again, there's a will, there's a way. There's a lot of will. There will be a lot of ways.
Sankirtan starts with two, no? Like with two.
At least, yeah, we can begin with two, no problem. We make it sustainable. Someday we reach the 108, but you have to begin somewhere. If you don't find anyone, you put a mirror in front of you. And some record yourself in Zoom that it quotes your voice with some delay. So it seems that there's someone else there. Just joking, no? Please do not replace the valuable company of Vaishnava with technology of any type. No? So, but yeah, again, if there's a will, there's a way. So that will take you to feel the necessity and to organize yourselves somehow or other. So yeah, it's nice to conceive Sankirtan as part of one sadhana, because sometimes Sankirtan is being only conceived like, let's go out and inspire people to come to the temple by doing Sankirtan. And I don't have a problem with that, but that will happen as a byproduct. If you are inspired doing that yourself, that may inspire others. That's the idea. If you are in the street just like okay, we have to do some promotion there by singing and dancing and learning this step, that step, but I'm not really into it. That may not create too much inspiration in the environment. But if you yourself are really absorbed in Sankirtan and others are seeing that, what you saw what happened with Mahaprabhu, of course, Mahaprabhu. But I mean, so many things happen like this with devotees. You hear so many times examples of people that first time they saw devotees who are singing, dancing, and they were so absorbed into that properly that creates some like there's something real there. What's going on? They really seem into it. But again, you have to be into it. So that's our part in the Sankirtan. So yeah, not some kirtan, but Sankirtan. What else?
Because I don't have Tadikar at this moment to do everything for Krishna. I do stuff for myself. Other people with that mindset sometimes. For example, I can buy the pasta that my kids like. I don't think, okay, now in the store, which pasta will Krishna like more, and get that. So
it's maybe difficult to find about that one. No? The pasta Purana, and Krishna will reveal which is his favorite. What to do? Yeah, just joking. So
can I actually do everything with Krishna? Like I cook pasta for my kids, but I tried my mind to be focused on chanting, and through this doing everything with Krishna take me to do everything for Krishna at some point. Or is it just my mind's illusion?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a way?
Yeah, that's a way. Of course, as you mentioned, it's not so easy to do everything for Krishna just 108% level of surrender. I mean, this is like a really high standard. We may go like neurotic, trying to be there. I mean, and you're not there. No, you're not there. It's like you have 12 years old and you want to be an elder. You can try your best, but maybe the more you try to be an elder being a teenager, the more you won't reach there, the more you remain a teenager. So first one has to accept where we are, and of course what's the goal to attain in short term, middle term, long term goals, sustainable way. And Rupa Goswami says something similar in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He says, you can offer Krishna those things that are favorite to him, but if not, this is too much. You can offer to Krishna those things that are favorite to you, because you will get like emotionally identified with that. Like this is the thing I like the most, and you make Krishna part of that. Again, it's with Krishna, but not for Krishna in one sense. No, he's part of the equation on some level, but maybe the proportion is still this is my favorite, whatever. Look, you fulfill the line there with whatever. But Rupa Goswami said, I mean, we have to begin somewhere. I mean, you cannot just like forcibly like how do you say turn off your body mind complex and material DNA and everything for Krishna. In time that may be dysfunctional, because I mean the goal is to attain that, but how to attain that from where we are, that's another thing. It may seem, oh, for attaining that I'm offering my favorite thing to Krishna. One may say, no, that's backwards. You should only offer what's favorite, but I'm not there. So instead of imitating that in a superficial way and going neurotic in time, although externally may seem super surrendered, everything for Krishna. I don't care for my children. I don't care what they like. Krishna likes this, they have to eat this. And all your children are growing traumatized and all. But Krishna is happy. So externally it seems, wow, such a surrendered person, but you're making all your family going crazy. All of you will end up in the madhouse, like, no, only for Krishna. But maybe instead of doing that, you become more realistic and say, okay, no, I will offer to Krishna. I mean, the thing that I like the most, the thing that my children like the most, whatever the case, but he's being part of that. So that externally seems more not so advanced, if you will, not so surrendered. But you are doing that with a much more mature framework, mindset, because you understand realistically where I am and where I want to be. You are not also cheating yourself like this is the all in all and forever I will keep doing like I found the perfect formula. I offer Krishna what I like the most, and that will be like this always. No, it won't be like this always. But we have to begin somewhere or continue somewhere. So even though externally that seems less advanced, it's actually more advanced than if you force yourself to be more advanced and you become less advanced. So yeah, it's a logical thing to do. I mean, you try to, and of course, okay, you say, okay, I will offer my child that he likes the most or she likes the most, whatever the case. But also, I mean, if one stops for a minute, one knows to offer my child his favorite or her favorite pasta. Objectively speaking, I know it's not the ultimate goal of life. It's not that everything ends there. And you will realize after 5 minutes after he ended the pasta, he will be asking something more, and then the pasta is over, and you have to. So you know, okay, this is something to try to, yeah, to satisfy him, please him on some level, because you cannot just try to, how to say, to buy your child's satisfaction only with pasta. In time, that won't be enough. But at the time, those things may help, but you have a bigger picture in mind in time. I mean, hopefully, you are not projecting, okay, when my girls have 25 years and they're having a problem, I say, here I cook your favorite pasta. You cannot ask anything else from me. With this, you should be fully satisfied. I say, no, I need more from you, mom. Pasta is no longer enough. It was nice, but now I need something deeper. So one should be ready to expand the bigger picture, and that will, of course, make Krishna part more and more into one's life, at least. It's a necessity, it's a natural necessity. But yeah, in one beginning point, if you will, it's natural to. We may not able to everything for Krishna, but everything with Krishna. And in theory, we know ultimately everything is for Krishna. So even I'm trying to, how to say, to have my children happy with their favorite pasta. Somehow we know that in the long term, this is one element, one detail. So they are balanced and eventually not only balanced human being, hopefully willing for other things, or yourself, you are a balanced mother. So being a balanced mother and human being, that will give you more foundation for being a better devotee. So even in those details that seem to be disconnected, the consideration of for Krishna is there. Maybe it's not the all in all again, but it's there in some place. And yeah, he's there. So I say that's very healthy. Like try to make Krishna part of your daily life and every situation and every moment, because that's Sambandha. Sambandha means every element, every person, every situation has the potential to be connected with its source, and the common source of everything is Krishna. So it's in us how much capable we are in linking whatever is coming to our lives with him on some level. Again, maybe not everything for him, but with him, like including him in the picture. Because sometimes also we may be, again, going back to the superficial fanatical attempt, we may just like forcing ourselves everything for Krishna, and externally seems for Krishna, but it's not with Krishna. Externally it's for Krishna, but internally Krishna is not there. He has not been invited to the party. It's just more like imposed like dogma that it's what you have to do, what's correct socially, or whatever you may like to, but it's not with Krishna. So if it's not with Krishna, it's also not for Krishna, actually. So better with Krishna, not for Krishna, than for Krishna, not with Krishna. So something like this. No? We have to find which is Krishna's favorite pasta, just in case. What else? Something else?
Yeah, there was in the chat from a few days ago after the class, there were some questions from Madhurya. Do you want me to read them?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I never read them. It was in Facebook?
No, it was in Skype, so
Ah,
we saw
okay,
them
okay.
later.
Okay, yeah, why not?
Recording?
Mm.
There are two questions. I'll read them both. You decide how. Or first one, okay. What is the difference between principes and values?
What's principles?
Principles. Sorry.
Ah, okay.
And
I was thinking
values.
of princess or something. In Spanish, we say príncipe, which is prince.
Okay.
So principles,
And values.
that's the first question.
Yes. I guess.
Well, it may be, I mean, it's not something that maybe is necessarily linked with our conception. It may be more of a grammatical thing and how each one will understand that. But generally, the two of them may be synonymous. Here we are back, sorry. Okay. So
Actually, I have to leave to the airport.
Yeah, if there's it, I can.
So yeah, I mean, again, I don't know the details they have in mind when making the question, but it sounds like similar, you know, like principles and values. Of course, each term can be applied in so many different ways and have other meanings, but I don't know the specific idea in mind. But generally, you have principles in life. It's a way of saying I have values in life. And even if you take principles in, I don't know, I follow the 4 regulative principles, that has also to do with certain principles in your life. It's not just doing something, but it's some ideal you have that you want to uphold. So, for example, as we mentioned, let's follow the other day we say that 4 regulative principles is not so much like no meat eating or no gambling or no, okay, I'm following because I'm not doing that. It's more about how much you identify with the ideal of the principle, which is compassion, truthfulness, purity, austerity. How much you really embrace those principles is how much you are following the principles. It's not so much a mechanical execution of not doing something, but it's a much more, I would say, like passionate acceptance of doing something. Because sometimes we consider this a negative term. Which are the 4 regulative principles? In English, they abbreviate, no? They say the 4 regs. First time I never got it. I say, what? 4 regs? What's that? Regs, like regulations, abbreviate. 4 regulative principles. Know this, know this, know this, and know this. So it sounds a little bit weird, no? Like, what do you do? I do not do this. And what do you do? I do not do this. But what do you do? No, I do not do this. Yeah, it was clear. Share with me the positive side of that. No? So it's not about avoiding something, but embracing something. And as much as I embrace the positive, I will be able to avoid the negative, not the other way around. And so much as I'm concerned with compassion, that will be like a byproduct to be a vegetarian, let's say, for example. And I will understand that's only one part of being compassionate. I mean, that's one part and all that. So yeah, it's connected. Principles and values. Values has the same point. Ideals, which are like the codes of thought and behavior that I'm choosing to guide my life through. So I don't know if that helps, but some thoughts on that connection. There's a second question.
Yes. Should I?
Yeah. The first one I replied quite quickly. So
It's regarding the.
Also from Madhurya?
Yes. Relationship with the devotees. We know that from our attitude towards the devotees, our spiritual progress depends on this attitude, and that they are the cup of rickshaws for us. With what mindset we should relate to them in our relationship with them? We should be sorry, it's very. And if I realize that this person is sent by God now, so I can associate with them, and from him my spiritual progress depends, with what mindset I should relate to this person? Was it too?
Well, there are different degrees of devotees, no? Because the question started kind of more general, like the devotees, and then start to speak about one person on which my spiritual progress depends. So that sounds more specific, if you will. So of course, we should relate with all devotees in a respectful way. And also, I may give one advice, but also it will depend the adhikar of every person. For example, as we know, the Kanishta Bhakta, he will not see any differences between devotees, which is okay. Everyone is devotee. But in time, some nuance appears and it's necessary. Like you will realize, yes, everyone is devotee, but there are degrees of that. There are degrees of that. Some are more advanced, more mature, some others do not. Naturally, you start to grow. If you have been a proper kanista, that is okay. If you have received good nourishing as a kanista, a good breast milk as a baby kindergarten Vaishnava, that will take you naturally to grow beyond the defense of initial like narrow-mindedness, naivety, and you will realize, oh, there are degrees of devotees. And you start to be educated about also which are the symptoms of every devotee. One should, in time, be educated about that. It's not that we should just be naive forever. So we should know there are symptoms of devotees, and there are devotees who are more advanced than others. And if you really want to advance, there's one point in your practice that you will be concerned about, I want to make progress. And sometimes you may feel, I'm not making progress. And that can happen. I've heard so many devotees tell me that. I got stuck. I don't feel making progress. And they told me in part was because I was not serving or shelter under certain particular progressive guidance. So I needed that. So it's okay. It's not a sin. It's not you are being offensive for having that necessity. You should be chaste and loyal and surrender and so on. Of course, there is place for one being just whimsical and finding some excuse to do any nonsense. That's another thing. And I'm not inspired, but sometimes what do we understand as inspiration? No? Because inspiration doesn't mean someone will just like speak flowery words into my ears and put sweet there and tell everything that I want to hear, and you don't have to change anything. You are perfect. It's incredible, and everyone else is bad and wrong, but you, my dear. Victim consciousness, no, it's not that healthy. So one should be educated about, because then Madhurya spoke about putting ourselves under the guidance of someone under whose shelter our spiritual life depends on. And that sounds more like a guru, basically. Of course, in a general sense, we'll say we depend on the grace of the Vaishnavas, but also at the same time, this idea of dependence can be tricky, no? Because okay, we depend on the Vaishnavas and depend on certain special figures, but we have to do something else again. It's not just I depend. Everything depends on you, and subtly you are trying to avoid personal commitment and trying to put 100%. It's your duty to save me, something like this. And he will tell you, no, it's 50-50. So this is your 50% part. You have to do this. And again, some false humility make no, I'm so fallen, I cannot do anything. You will do everything for me. Here's my 50% back for you. So you do the 100% for me. Yeah? And it sounds like, wow, so humble. So you are really totally exploitative, basically, and evasive. So that's the point when I say our spiritual life totally depends on that person. Yes and no. Yeah.
I think she means that in relation to the any person my spiritual life depends on. That's right.
What?
With my spiritual progress depends on my communication and relation to every devotee.
Oh, well,
so
that's
whoever comes, I communicate with Mireo. It depends on my relationship.
Okay, that's another thing. Okay,
Yes.
thanks for clarification. But the other point
Also
was
very
also
good.
important. So of course, yeah, this is a really relational process. Maitriastu Sarvatra Bhagavat, what is it? Maitri Astu Sarvatra Namo Dvijayabhya. Praise Parikshit Maharaj. When he's about to die, or when he receives the news, you have 7 days to live. So something to pray for. I like this verse. Ujastyananta Bhagavatitanti. How is Tadastra Yesu? Whatever. So he's praying 3 things. I adopted that whenever it's my birthday, and they say, Maharaj, you have to ask for 3 wishes. I don't know if it's popular here in Argentina. If you have birthday, before like turning off the candle, 3 wishes in loud voice. So okay. Sometimes it's even more conditional. 3 spiritual wishes. Okay. Then this verse I like a lot because Parikshit Maharaj receives. It's not his birthday, but it's his death day, basically. It's the same, basically. I mean, birthday is 1 year less, not 1 year more, in this world. So he says, if I can ask for 3 things, I am about to leave this world. I ask for 3 things. May I have love for Bhagavan? May I have association with his devotees? And may I have friendship with every living entity? So he prays for these 3 types of healthy types of interaction with different personalities. With God, may I love God. May I have Sangha with the Vaisnavas, with all that it implies. I may have friendly engagement with every being. Maitri. Maitri means friendship with Sarvatra, with everyone. So again, that's a principle of the devotees. The point is, this is not even limited to how I relate with the devotees. My progress depends on how I relate with everything and everyone. It's not like I'm really careful how I relate with the devotees, and then I meet a non-devotee. I don't care. That doesn't matter. It's only with the devotees I be careful. And I'm violent. And I mean, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said there are 4 types of anarthas, and one anartha is aparad. And he subdivides aparad in 4. And one of the 4 aparad is jiva aparad, he calls. Offenses to our other living entities. And the quality of the Vaishnava is Nama Ruchi Jivadai Sarva Dharma Sar. He said the essence of all Dharma is to develop a taste for the chanting of the name, Nama Ruchi, and Jivadai, to be generous with every other living entity, not just be nice with your pals and be a monster with the karmis or whatever. So what to speak of how much, my point is, if our progress depends on how we relate with everything and everyone, how much that will depend, how much we should take care of our relationship with the Vaishnavas, which is of course a special type of spiritual connection we have. So yeah, we depend on each one of our relationships. Again, not to be paranoid, but yes, to be careful and be really considerate and be humble enough to realize, yeah, I depend on, but again, I depend on them in one sense, in the sense of a lot depends on how I relate to them. Since I depend on them on one part, a lot depends on how I behave towards those that sustain me. I always like to quote Thomas Merton. He will say, your spiritual life is maintained by the prayers of your brothers and sisters. In Christian terms, he say that. You have your brothers, your sisters there in the community, and daily they pray for you. That's also nice practice. You pray for your family to begin with, and your spiritual family, and you can pray in so many directions, but to acknowledge that, to acknowledge, even though I may not know, it's not that I'm receiving some daily report, this person is praying for you, this person is praying for you. But you know that's going on. And you know there's a lot of well-wishers, affectionate people, and they are sending particular intention and prayers towards you, and that's uplifting you, upgrading you. So we say that the other day, we should be very careful, because especially if you are in a quote unquote high position, everyone, but especially if you are receiving too much of that from many, you may easily think, oh wow, now I'm so powerful. Now I feel totally injected with Shakti Abyss. I'm totally empowered. And maybe yes, but it's not your own plot. I won't self-empower myself, but I'm receiving so much love and affection and prayer. So if I acknowledge that, I will become humble and realize, oh, I'm being sustained by that. And naturally, the next thing, I should properly reciprocate with that. So yeah, it's quite quite crucial, and that's why along our Shastra we see so many examples of the two things: how devotees relate to each other in a proper way, and which is the result of that, and how they do not relate in a proper way, and which is the result of that. Like trying to make this point, no? In one sense, it's all about relationships. And with this, I'm not saying try to force yourself to be the best friend of every single devotee in their life, because it may not happen. I mean, it's not that you won't be the best friends in Gaudiya Vaishnavism with every single member of the community. But at least there should be some level of affection and appreciation with everyone, especially with those that make us uncomfortable for some reason or another. Not jump quickly to the conclusion, I don't like him that much, I don't like her that much. Why? Because we may not even know why, but we feel this like short circuit. But we may think we should feel also, well, it means that the two of us have something deep to teach each other, basically. So what we can learn from each other. So, as Krishna says in the Gita, your mind may be your worst enemy, but has the potential to become your best friend. So you can project the same idea to the person that you may feel, oh, my worst enemy. But the person is not your worst enemy. Your mind is your worst enemy, and it's projecting that worst enemy outside as a way of not having to do the necessary with your own mind. So the worst enemies, like evasive mechanism, like the classical example: someone is robbing the bank, goes out the bank and says, someone has robbed the bank, the thief went in that direction, try catch him, and everyone like, and the thief goes like, So even subconsciously we may do that, like the enemy is there, but immediately the enemy is there, he's the enemy, he's bad, and when everyone looks at it, like, sorry, relief, but still the enemy is there, but has the potential of becoming the best friend. So we should like apply the philosophy, apply the principles, the values we have received when we are relating with each other. That's in one sense the moment you are being put to test, because we can speak about that so much, we can be chanting so much around in our own private room. But also an important moment where we will see where we are is when we relate to each other, how capable we are of dealing with our differences and harmonizing and being willing. And again, I'm not saying this to everything has to be totally perfect in every sense. That won't happen. My Guru Maharaj will say the only perfect community is in Golok Vrindavan. No. So do not expect that to happen on earth. That won't happen. So do not go paranoid. Like when this has to happen, this level of total transcendence has to come, and it will come in another place if you will. But we have to make our best also. We have not to be lazy. No, that's in Golok. Yeah, but you will never reach there if you are not doing your best here. Again, doing your best is not just pushing whimsically in one direction, but also being intelligent and being, and sometimes, not blaming anyone. No, if some relationship is not working, I mean, the best thing is to be strict with yourself and not with the others in a healthy way. No? if I do not get along with Uddhava that much, that may happen. We have to take care. It's a mutual commitment we are taking now publicly in front of Mahaprabhu. So at one point something is happening, and I can think in two terms. I think, oh, this Uddhava is totally weird and rascal, and he's not able to understand me, and he's wrong. No, I'm always perfect. Basically, something like that can go, no? And we, of course, we start to go mad by thinking like this. Or I can say, no, I'm not, whatever. If he's not happy with me, well, okay, I won't blame him. I will try to upgrade myself and become a better person. And maybe in time, that the situation will work. I cannot force him to change, so I will force myself to change. Force in the good sense of the term, not like in a forced sense, but I will pay attention to my process. Because if I just wait the other person to change and be better, and tell me when you are doing better, and I appear again back, no, that's like comfort zone. So it's okay if that happens, or you are speaking with someone in the street, and you would like to share something nice and inspire the person, and the person is not inspired. So you can say, oh, it's such a demon, no security, all this. It was not my fault, it was just, not necessarily. You should think, what can I do to become more of an inspirer to the other person? Not with neurosis towards me, but for sure there's something I can do to become a better version of myself. That's an important point for us. If there is something you can do to become a better version of yourself, and you are not doing that, and instead you are expecting something from the other side, that's called hypocrisy. That's the type of exploitation. You want the environment to serve you while you are not doing your duty. Again, I'm not saying trying to be more than what you can and go crazy, but try to be honest about, and generally at least, and that's another way of, sometimes the devotees come and they may be a little bit discouraged or whatever. The question is, but are you giving all that you can to become the best version of yourself? Or there is something, some coins you are keeping in your pocket, if you will, of your giving of yourself that you are not investing? And always the answer is, yeah, I could do something more, and I'm not doing that. So maybe that thing you are not giving is what is making the difference, and is make you feel like, So that's a point. We should, in that sense, I mean, you should be strict with yourself instead of expecting some miracle in the environment, demanding more qualities in the other people. That's the cheapest way of being evasive and just, but no. If you want to become a hero, if you will, heroic Vaishnava, we should be really, and that's the example of our guardians always. Environment is perfect. That's the idea. Environment is perfect. Do not try to change the environment. Try to adjust yourself first. And when you are doing all that you can to adjust, you will reach this vision and realization, wow, everything is perfect. That's an interesting aha moment. And generally, when we do not see everything is how it should be, it's because we are not doing everything we can to adjust. Again, all this in general, I'm not speaking about specific situations and how to act here and there. And I'm not saying if someone is beating you with a baseball bat, you have to adjust to the environment. I mean, I'm giving general notions, and I trust your human intelligence to adapt, but the principle is still there. I mean, if someone hit you with a baseball bat, even, what will you do? I mean, you will condemn that person for return? For some reason that happened also.
Running is good adjustment.
Running?
It's good adjustment.
Okay.
The situation.
Shivanidhi had that pastime the other, and where was that?
Yeah.
Venezuela or something? Yeah. Okay. But you acknowledge that this was for some reason also. No? Krishna wanted me to do some extra exercise today. So yeah, it's important to have good relationships with the Vaishnavas, because yes, they are like agents of Krishna's will in our life in one way or another. So we are being put to test how we relate with Krishna through his agents, in one way or one degree or another. They are representing Krishna. So we are to work on that. It's a really relational. Bhakti is really relational. I mean, in comparison to any other process, Gyan, Yoga, journalists go to the cave and do your sadhana. And maybe you see someone once a year or something. Vairagya and sannyas and detachment. But Bhakti is like lots of relationships. And we project relationships in eternity. So again, relationships should become such a source of excitement that we are like celebrating that we will be able to engage in those relationships for eternity. But if we do not learn the lesson here, and I tell you, you relate with him for eternity, you might think, oh my God, no, I want to go somewhere else then. I don't want to go to the spiritual world. If he's going, I'll stay here. Suddenly I got detached from mukti. So it shouldn't be like that, for sure. There's so much variety in Golok, not only our group, if you will, so many groups and so many subgroups of service in different races, and so many, as Srila Samaras was explaining the other day, I was seeing video, so many healthy opposition, no? When Krishna goes at night to sleep, Jashoda will want what? Will decide to make Krishna have a nice sleep, good resting. He will be healthy boy. If the boy is not having good rest, that won't help him. He will be dysfunctional. So he may sleep quietly as much as possible. 15 hours, no problem. Let him rest. But the gopis are thinking, may he run away with us every single night. May he have no rest at all. So there is some tension there. Of course, one doesn't know what's going on. It's not that Jasoda knows the gopis want my Krishna, but there is this tension, this difference of opinion. Not that they all agree. Let Krishna sleep all night. Gopis won't agree with that. And Krishna won't agree with that. He doesn't want to sleep. He wants just to run after the prem of the gopis. That keeps him awake the whole night. Like when you are in love, even in this world, no? Even though that may be a temporary shadow, but in that period, you won't be able to sleep at night. You will be like... So you can imagine when you have prem, no, how much your nights will pass, transcendental insomnia or something. So again, there is difference of opinion, but everything is accommodated. There is no conflict between Vatsalya Rasa Kamp, Madhurya Rasa Kamp, or whatever. There is a place for everything to fit. So yeah, the sadhus are, like we could say this idea, Krishna is showing me his mercy in the form of the association he's sending to my life. So that's a good way of personifying Krishna's grace and not making it a very abstract thing. Krishna's mercy, what's Krishna's mercy? What's Krishna's mercy? The association he's sending to your life. That's an embodied form of Krishna's kripa. The Vaisnavas are kripa shakti of Bhagavan. So again, the most sacred thing is coming in this personified form. How I deal with that? How much I want to pay the price of mercy, which means how much I want to relate properly with the Vaishnavas. That means accepting mercy. Again, mercy is not some like light comes to my life and everything becomes easy. Suddenly I don't have to do anything. Also merciful. That's a chastisement. Yeah, sorry, what to do? They got disillusion, you say? You have this idea, this word in English, disillusion?
Yeah.
That's good. Because disillusion means illusion is leaving you. But generally you say, oh, I became so disillusioned. That means I want to remain in illusion. And now illusion is gone. And that means reality is getting closer and closer. You are getting closer. So we have to really be practical and realistic. What does this kripa means? It's not just, again, a wave of light and I'm floating and some type of psychedelic experience, basically, or something like that. No? Mercy means maybe Krishna will send you a particular Vaishnava that will challenge you in a very healthy way. Maybe your wife, your husband, they were looking at each other when I say that. they got the idea. They have daily experience of that. Similarly, you have that. And not only, of course, husband and wife, everyone. I mean, everyone. Of course, when you live with someone closely, you have okay, lots of mercy then. So for me, it's healthy to see that, because if you maintain that properly, instead of saying, "Oh, this person is so annoying," and on this is Krishna's mercy coming in this particular way to teach me something, to take me out of the comfort zone, to invite me to develop the best version possible of myself. I mean, that's mercy. That's what mercy will create that effect. But again, it's not that mercy comes and does everything for you, and now it's super transcendental. Thank you, mercy. No, mercy will put you in a situation when you will realize the need for certain changes, the necessary things to do, and you will embrace a particular process, practice, prayer to upgrade yourself. That's mercy to begin with. And mercy to begin with will show you what do you need to, who you are, who you can be, and what do you need to change in between that. And the picture may be terrifying for a minute, like, oh my gosh. But it's mercy. It's shedding full light on who you are. And then another degree of mercy. Okay, what do I have to do to reach there? I cannot do it by myself. So we'll start to pray and I'm begging for mercy. There will come some special grace there. So but we have to do our part, our sacrifice, and so on. So that's an important point. Krishna's mercy comes in the form of the association he's giving us. So it's nice to think like this and not just like to look on the other side of the fence, because the saying says the grass always seems greener on the other side of the fence. Oh, if I would have only this association. Oh, I saw the video of this sadhu from Alaska. And I think he will be such a nice association with me. If he will have been living here in Bulgaria, everything will be like heavenly. And you start to create all these different movies in your mind and this. Okay.
It's up again.
Let's continue. It's okay. It's okay. So, yeah, that's a good way to remain also like sane in mind, because you can always be comparing yourself to others, and this is better and this is better. And probably once I remember someone asked the devotee, how do I know which will be my best association? And again, you can go crazy with that, because you can like start to calculate and this and that and that. And the devotee say, well, probably your best association is the one that you have already now in your life. Like implying, instead of trying to wander, let your mind go around the globe and Google all the possible associations and sangha and countries, and your whole life was spent doing that and you never had any association altogether. Better start with what you have. Because sometimes in that, my best possible thing is just a desire of avoiding what the present association is trying to give you. And we are not willing to accept, because accepting that implies certain changes. So sometimes we may like just to go to YouTube and idealize, oh, this sadhu, this temple, this video clip of this project, there sounds so idyllic. It seems everyone is happy in the video clip. Of course. Of course they're happy, no? You have the group picture of the Bulgarian retreat, 30 people, everyone will be smiling for sure. But it doesn't mean that we don't have our own issues as individuals, as community. I mean, that's everywhere. So we should like understand. And that's a good beginning point, instead of asking, where's my best possible association? But first look what Krishna is sending you right now, right away in your face immediately. And begin from there. Do the needful there. Try to do your best in that environment And if for some reason it doesn't work well, something else could be speaking about. But first, do your best wherever you are now, because if not, there will be always some brighter horizon, if you will. But it may never happen. Also, some ideas. We have some minutes if there are any other questions. Who? Samnanda?
She had the question.
I agree with him.
I agree also. We will go to the two. So who first? Okay, Samnanda.
So I asked you on Sunday about this thing like Thakur's aspiration.
The expansion.
Yeah. And like it's like the same question, but like for Gaura Lila, like, because like Mahaprabhu is absorbed in this pastime also during Rath Yatra of Radha at Kuruksetra, and Rupa Goswami is so glorified for having understood the move there. And like now I'm more wondering why don't speak about this as some kind of like partial manifestation, because it seems like it's very important and central to Gaudiya Vaishnavism.
What? The verse, the Puri Lila, the
Kuruksetra, the meeting of Radha and Krishna.
So why not?
It's so central to Gaudiya Vaishnavism so why call it that it's not really
An expansion thing and not the real thing, or something like that. Well, again, it's at one point is subjective in the sense that go on. So I should 1 second. We are changing the connection to see if we have an upgraded version. You let me know which is the name of the. No.
Icos.
Yeah. There is iPod. Yeah, iPod. So password.
Big R.
Okay, with space. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see 1 minute here. Okay. There we are. So yeah, in one sense, this Kuruksetra meeting is crucial for us. As we may say, the Rath Yatra is crucial for us Gaudiyas, but we may say also there's no Rath Yatra in Nityanavadip, basically. So even when someone wanted to make a Rath Yatra in Navadip, we know that Srila Sridhar Maharaj objected to that, like implying that will disturb the hearts of the Dhambasis, by reminding them, your Nimai took sannyas and now he's doing all these weird things outside of Nadia or something. So similarly, the Kuruksetra is like important for us, especially in the context of the Bhoma Lila and in the context of the separation. As we will see also, it's important, I don't know, for example, this Brahmar Gita we are speaking now, Samacharya says it's the most important chapter of the Bhagavatam. And you will see it, but it's not in Vrindavan. It's not, I mean, it's in Vrindavan, but it's not with Krishna in Vrindavan. It doesn't happen in Golok Vrindavan. It only happens here. So again, why it's so important? It's not a Nitya Lila, if you will. It's a Naimitika Lila. But it's important as the Kuruksetra Lila because it sheds light indirectly on the love of the Brajavasis in separation from Krishna, which is, of course, the predominant aspect in the Bhoma Lila. On earth, there is a predominance of separation, while on the Nitya Vrindavan, if you will, Golok, there is a predominance of union. Separation is just some hours per day, if you will, when Krishna goes and comes, but never going to Mathura, going to Dwarka. He's already Mathura in Dwarka in another form. Golok Mathura and Golok Dwarka. So he doesn't need to go there. He remains in Vrindavan. So I will say the same point. This song, of course, of Rupa Goswami this poem when he translates Mahaprabhu's Pop Kirtan in the Rath Yatra has to do with how Sri Radha like highlights the importance of Vrindavan. I mean, the whole section points so much to Vrindavan. The whole Kuruksetra meeting converges into that high when Sri Radha says, without Vrindavan, this cannot happen. So therefore, the need is Vrindavan, not Kuruksetra, if you will. So in that sense, Kuruksetra is really pointing, go back to Vrindavan if you want this to happen, because there is no Jamuna here, no Govardhan, no peacock feather, not all the playground, all the paraphernalia that make you who you are as Braja Krishna. I mean, for you to be Braja Krishna, you need to be in Braj. You cannot be here in Kuruksetra on top of an elephant, being a prince here and this there. For you, I mean, our Krishna is Braja Krishna, and this only happens in Braj. So this Kuruksetra moment, if you will, is strongly, intensely making this point. Like, our Krishna is not that Krishna, but it's the other Krishna. To the point that Radha, I mean, if there is something that she desires the most, is to serve Krishna, unite with him. But she has to tell him, no. Imagine, try to put all these elements in place, and she's saying, no, it's not possible. It cannot happen. This is the thing I will like the most, but it is to be done under certain rules, if you will, certain circumstance, certain context. So if there is no Braj, if there is no Jamuna, if there is no stage, if there's no stage, there's no Leela. I mean, a Leela is a dramatic performance, strictly speaking. So you cannot have a dramatic performance without a stage. It's like this, that's the criteria. So Braja Leela is a game, divine play, but it's compared to a drama. With the different rasas and ingredients and emotions and roles, the Nayaka, the Nayika. Rupa Goswami has presented Krishna Leela in aesthetic, dramatic terms. So you want a drama, you need the stage, proper environment. If you don't have that, there's no drama. So Sri Radha basically saying that to Krishna Kuruksetra. You want the drama to happen, you want Leela, you want us to be again, but the stage is not here. That's what she said. I mean, I see chariots and elephants, and there's no flute, no peacock feather, no cows, no gopis, no. They cannot be Leela. Leela needs particular stage, what we call sometimes abode or dham. I mean, you can have Gaur Leela without full Gaur Leela without Navadvip. In one sense, you can have Gaur Leela in Puri, but the fullest expression of Gaur Leela is not in Jagannath Puri. Interesting. So but it's interesting because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami extended the most of his writing to that, if you will, secondary expression of Gaur Leela in Puri, because we need to go through that secondary expression to enter into the ultimate Nitya Navadvip. So similarly, our acharyas have emphasized a lot this separation mode, and that's why the Srimad Bhagavatam depicts the earthly Leela of Vrindavan, not the Golok. The earthly, because the earthly Leela is predominated by separation, and we need to go through that to reach the other place. And that's why we have the smallest section of the 10th canto is Braja Leela, comparatively speaking. The longest section is Krishna outside of Vrindavan. Krishna in Mathura, Krishna in Dwarka, Krishna in Kuruksetra. No? It's longer. Like Mahaprabhu in Puri is longer than in Navadvip. It's longer. But that wants to make a point. Longer means in all those chapters that Krishna is outside, you have to understand what those chapters are telling about Vrindavan, how the Brajavasis are suffering separation, how Krishna is experiencing separation, the differences of love one place or that. So all directly or indirectly is pointing back to Braj. So the same will apply to Mahaprabhu in Puri. It's so important as a means to the goal. It's not that important as the ultimate destiny that we do away with Nitya Navadvip. Oh, Jagannath Puri is so important, the sannyasa Mahaprabhu is so important, not to the point that I will shave Mahaprabhu here and put him a danda in raise hand and one commando here. No, not to that point, but to the point of spending 1 week speaking about that, so we can enter there. Now that when he is no longer, so yeah, I would say that that's why for us it's so important, not because Srirad is making the statement Kuruksetra is so crucial. She didn't say that. I mean, she just went there because they happened to be there. If the solar eclipse celebration was in Prayag or whatever, she may have gone there and said the very same thing to Krishna. So, Braj. Not so much Kuruksetra, this, but there. Braj, let's go back. Rath Yatra. Let's bring Krishna back there. So all that converges back to that direction. So that's why we celebrate so much this like Kurukshetra and verses and all that points in that, not for the sake of Kurukshetra in itself. No? And the same with Bhagavad Gita. We may say, okay, for us Bhagavad Gita is also important, not as important as the Bhagavatam, but it's really important. But ultimately, for us, Kurukshetra and Kurukshetra Krishna speaking Gita, ultimately is, as my Guru Maharaj depicts in his commentary, is someone who is there, but he's there remembering what he experienced before being in Kuruksetra when he met the Brajavasis in Kuruksetra, and all that takes his mind back to Vrindavan. So it doesn't remain in Kuruksetra. That's the conclusion of the Gita. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam Kuruksetra. No. Mamekam sharanam braja. So when Krishna says braja, no more Kuruksetra. End of the story. End of Kuruksetra there. His mind totally went to Vrindavan by thinking of the love of Brajavasis there. So that was the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, basically, for Krishna. No? Vrindavan. So no matter which Kurukshetra, which Bhagavad Gita or solar eclipse, Vrindavan. Vrindavan. So that's our Gaudiya reading of all this. I agree, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
I realize this may be a long answer, but I ask you to give just a short answer.
I'll try. I cannot promise.
Okay. In regard of what you said, that we have to have a deeper understanding of the four regulating principles, how they connect with the four pillars of Dharma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are totally connected. Because again, four pillars of Dharma. Dharma means, again, I mean, an important point here is the four regulative principles are not something spiritual. I mean, to be ahimsa is not, you can be an atheist. Of course, if you apply the ultimate idea of non-violence, you may say something else. But in general, I mean, you can be vegetarian, you can be whatever, celibate, even to that extraordinary case, you can be whatever, non-casino guy. And you can be a straight edge. You have a straight edge here?
No.
But you know what that's mean with the X here. Non-intoxication. You don't take any intoxication. But nothing of that is speaking about spirituality. And what to speak of bhakti? Bhakti doesn't come from purity, material purity, austerity, material compassion. Bhakti comes from bhakti. So that's another thing also. So as you mentioned, that's called pillars of Dharma. So Dharma is not the same as bhakti. Of course, ultimately bhakti is the highest Dharma. That's another thing. Sabai pumsam paro dharma and prema dharma. Ultimately, like the Bhagavad Gita, first verses, Gangas the other day, immediately speaks about Dharma. Dharma kshetre. The very first word of the Gita is Dharma. Dharma. Dharma kshetre Kuruksetra. No? In this Kuruksetra, Dharma will be. But where was the conclusion of the Gita? What did I mention before? Vrindavan. So that's the Dharma. that you ultimately flourish in the battlefield, basically. So that's prema dharma. Because the ultimate dharma, the word dharma, you can translate that in so many ways. Duty, religion, like constitutional function, whatever. But dharma means that which dharma means which sustains me. That which sustains one's existence. So you can speak about the material sense of dharma, which keeps you balanced in the world, which sustains you. That's dharma. But ultimately, what's the ultimate sustaining of your soul? That's another dharma altogether. So again, going back to the four regulative principles, that has more to do with like material dharma, we could say, of being, and I'm not criticizing that, I'm just putting that in place with sattva. Which sattva is something in itself very unique and special. It's not very popular, I will say, in this world. But the whole Vedic like mindset originally was, as you know, dharma, artha, kama. To begin with, moksha is at one point when you get fed up with all the other stuff. But in the beginning, you have this called trivarga. So trivarga means these three main aims in life: dharma, artha, kama. So there is artha, there is kama, which means there is some financial development, artha, and kama, there is sense enjoyment. It's not like altogether condemned, if you will, but there is dharma to begin with. And in the context of dharma comes artha and kama. Dharma means to be a good person, ethical, religious, balanced, civilized human being, and sattvic disposition. On the basis of that sattva, there's some healthy development in the world. But nowadays, unfortunately, people is not concerned about trivarga. They are concerned about dvivarga. Artha kama, artha kama, artha kama, artha kama. Money, sense enjoyment. Money, sense enjoyment. Money for sense enjoyment. Money, sense enjoyment. But if that's not done in the context of dharma, that leads to degradation. So there's a place for sense enjoyment. There's a place for having money, but in a sattvic frame of mind. If it is rajasic, tamasic, you will be degraded through those same activities that can gradually civilize you. Okay. So dharma, pillars of dharma are these four, basically: compassion, austerity, purity, truthfulness. So it has to do with these four regulative principles. But again, as I mentioned, that's not the all in all. You are vegetarian, let's say, vegan, whatever, ahimsa vegetarian, and that has to do with being merciful. But you can be vegan and be cruel with the human beings. No? So you have to protect the animals because all these human beings are totally whatever. I just start like, but poor animals. I love the animals so much. Oh, there comes a human being. So it's basically the same principle taking another form. You were violent with the animals, now you're violent with the human beings. So it's like comprehensive notion. But something that will help you will be that, for example. That's like one special example. You change your diet, and of course that affects you. Or the other different things. Do not take stimulants, because that's a form of, again, yeah, that won't lead to austerity. Basically, austerity is a very important principle for us. It doesn't mean like torture your body until you go mad, but it means like you have to learn how to not overindulge and look for superficial stimulants while you should try, and distractions, while you should try to find proper stimulants and attention, stimulant in attention, not in distraction. And not just find some cheap relief of reality, because sometimes people take drugs only because it takes some relief from their own minds. But it's a temporary relief. It's not that they found the solution to their problem. So it creates a distraction, but you become addicted to the distraction. So it's a whole evasive mechanism. Every time I feel anxiety, whatever, I'm okay. Yeah, you're not okay anymore. You need more. So austerity means try to. The word says it all. So I won't go in detail with each one of them, but all of them should be done. But the point is, again, you may not be taking drugs. It doesn't mean you are fully austere in every sense of it. Maybe you are speaking too much, and that's not austerity. Krishna speaks in the Gita about so many types of austerity: austerity of speech, of mind, of action, of charity. All the things have to do in a particular way. And the same, I don't know, with purity and sex. That's the classical one. No illicit sex. What do you think about that? Do you agree? Good question. What's illicit? That's a very important question, because it is saying no illicit sex, but the point is that maybe nobody knows what's the implication of that, or everyone will have a different idea, because there are different ideas about that. I've heard like illicit sex means, as you may imagine, only procreation, only sex for procreation. That's a high standard. It's brahmachari. You're just, I mean, you are greater than a brahmachari. Because you have your wife there, no, only for procreation, which means, I mean, how many kids you can have. 10 times in a lifetime or something, no? I mean, that's higher than being the celibate monk living yourself in the monastery. But of course, that doesn't sound too realistic, too sustainable for most. So the idea of illicit sex, the word illicit, I personally do not like that much. I'm using that because it's a popular way of referring to that. And I don't like to address this principle with the word no. Again, know this, know that, but yes to how to do these things in a sustainable way. Some people may want and be able, okay, only for procreation. I mean, we won't forbid them to try it if they want. It's okay, I'll do it. I've known some few cases, with the fingers. Of course, I'm not asking every couple what's your standard at home, but sometimes they have shared that. So if that's sustainable, okay. Somebody will think, no, this is too much. But we will try to maintain that practice in a committed relationship, which means I will be going with anyone and everyone, which may make it more sustainable for most. And it's okay. There's place for that. It's not like, But the point is, the desire has to be on some level, how to say, harnessed. I always give this example of this person I met once. I maybe have shared that 108 times already. So it was a person nearby our temple in Buenos Aires, and he knew us from the neighborhood. And once we entered there, it was a shop where you make these phone calls. How do you call that? 20 years back. There were no cell phones almost. No, you went and called to some place, whatever. No, so he was the one in charge. Okay, so he had seen us coming and going sometimes, always with this type of stuff. So he once asked us, like, what's the meaning of these clothes? So, and we already knew him a little bit. So we were with Vaisnavas that day. So we kind of felt where this will converge. What's the conclusion of this inquiry? They say, well, this clothes means that we are monks. So immediately his question was, so you cannot have sex? Of course, it's not that we cannot, but it's one part of what we have chosen, which is not the main thing even, but it's part of the whole lifestyle that we have chosen, not like we cannot and someone is forbidding us and we are burning in desire or something. And then came the next question. He asked us, when was the last time you had sex? Because he was not able to conceive the whole thing. And he was starting to become overwhelmed because it seems it was the first time in his life he found such weird people as us. So you can imagine, no? He asked that question and he was already overwhelmed. And then the answer to his question was last time was 20 years back, or it never happened in my life. And he was lost. We lost him. And I was so much in anxiety because I was already seeing him like totally overwhelmed. And I said, well, now we will reply to his question. He will go crazy. Because you could see he was looking in his mental Google for some reference of that. And no reply to your search. No reply to your search. No reply to your search. So he had no reference point because his own situation was exactly the opposite. And I didn't know that at the point, but after we say what we said, he looked at us almost like crying and say, I cannot spend one day without having sex. I cannot. If I cannot have that with my partner, I have to pay to some lady for having that. And he was kind of realizing by such stark contrast, like I'm addicted to that. It's not normal. Because of course he might have heard us and thought, this is not normal either. But he gets some like contrast and he was like, so of course my point is to such a person, I wouldn't say only for procreation. I mean, he will commit suicide. I will say try once every 2 days, which is again sounds like it's a lot still, but for that person it will be like almost brahmacharya. He will start wearing saffron. But the person needs something. Okay, how to become better in this, but in a sustainable way. You have to start somewhere. So my point is this: when we say no illicit sex, it is not fixed formula. Imagine that I tell to this guy, this means no illicit sex. I mean, that's all. I mean, he said, no, I cannot speak with you anymore in my life. It's weird. But if he tells me every single day, I can, okay, let's try one every 2 days. If you want, I mean, it's whatever you want. I won't tell him what to do, but it's about how to. I mean, my Guru Maharaj will say everyone agrees that we have to control that impulse on some level. It's not that you are walking on the street and you like a girl or a boy and you jump on them because of desire. I mean, that's not correct. So on some level, we know that should be controlled. So where is the line of control in each case? That may differ in each case. So, but it's important that everyone. So some ideas. It's a whole big topic, but it's in connection to the question. So I want to finish. So these 4 pillars again, how to do with being human. Srila Prabhupada really emphasized 4 regulative principles, and sometimes devotees misunderstand. This is transcendental, but it's not transcendental. It's more humanly, to be a human balanced being, which is okay, important, sattva gun, and be a functional member in society and being properly satisfied regarding material necessities. So on top of that, you can project vertically on the horizontal development. So I will say that if you want to speak about 4 pillars that are transcendental for us, we go to the 3rd verse of Sikshastaka. And you have Sunishina, Sahishnuna, Manina, Manadana. There you have your 4 Paradharma pillars, if you will. Humility, tolerance, respect, and how do you say in English? When you do not expect respect for yourself.
Modesty.
In one word, yeah, modesty. In the context of chanting. So that means in the context of bhakti, in the context of spiritual, devotional culture. There you have 4 pillars on top of the other 4. But generally, the first 4 need to be in place. So on top of those 4, you put the other 4. And gradually another 4, and then the building keeps growing higher and higher. So, yeah, some idea. So it's important to be, as we always say, balanced human beings. We are to become first devotional human beings. Don't try to be a devotional superhero without being a devotional human being. But do not try to be only human being without being devotional either. No, that can be distracting as well. So everything in its proper place. So I think we can stop here. There is some special prasad waiting for the Vaishnavas. So thank you so much for your time today. As I mentioned, it was our last lecture. So it was my great fortune and pleasure to be able to come here again and share with all of you. Hopefully we can repeat it soon, but somehow or other, let's keep in touch and keep with the good tidings and nourishing whatever blessing have come these days in our lives. I will promise I will do my best on my side to try to keep all the things that I received from you. So hopefully it's two-way street. Till we meet again. See you Zoom or see you Zoom. No? One of the two varieties. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtana ki jai, Sri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Jagannath Bala Subhadri ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Praman. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Chittasubhyayeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Hari Om.